Picture the most valuable sports brand on the planet. The swoosh, the slogan, the shoes on every basketball court, every marathon starting line, every pair of feet that has ever wanted to feel like something more than ordinary. Now picture a 33-year-old man sitting on a plane, no money, no backup plan, no lawyers, flying to Japan to beg. Because if this meeting goes wrong, and everything suggests it will, there is no swoosh, there is no slogan, there is no Nike. There's just a man who once had a dream and then had to go back to being an accountant. This is that story. Let's go back to 1962. Phil Knight is a 24-year-old middle-distance runner from Portland, Oregon. Not world class, not Olympic, but obsessed, the way only runners are obsessed with the physics of the foot hitting the ground and what sits between those two things. He runs for the University of Oregon under a coach named Bill Bowerman, and Bowerman isn't just any coach. He's the kind of man who tears apart running shoes the way surgeons tear apart hearts, trying to understand exactly what's wrong with them and how to make them better. Knight graduates, gets a business degree from Stanford, writes a paper arguing that cheap, high-quality Japanese shoes could do to the American running market what Japanese cameras had already done to the photography market. It's a thesis paper, a class assignment, but somewhere in the writing of it, a real idea catches fire. So he does something that, honestly, most people never do with their ideas. He acts on it. He flies to Japan. He's never been, he has barely any money, and he walks, cold, no appointment, into the offices of a company called Onitsuka Tiger. You might know them today. They make Asics. Back then, they make the finest running shoes in the world. Knight sits across from the executives and they ask him, "What company are you with?" He panics. He says the first thing that comes to him, Blue Ribbon Sports. There is no Blue Ribbon Sports. He invented it, on the spot, in a conference room in a country where he doesn't speak the language. But they believe him. They shake his hand. They agree to send him samples. The shoe salesman who doesn't have a shoe company yet just became a shoe salesman. Here's what it looked like in the early days. No store, no website, no warehouse. Phil Knight drives to track meets, opens his trunk, sells shoes to runners out of the back of his car. And the shoes sell because they're good. Onitsuka Tiger makes a product that American runners had never touched before. Lighter, more responsive, built for people who actually run. He gets his old coach, Bill Bowerman, to go in with him. They each put in $500. Bowerman starts cutting the shoes apart, experimenting. One morning, he pours rubber into his wife's waffle iron, trying to redesign the sole. That waffle sole would eventually change the entire footwear industry, but we're getting ahead of ourselves. By 1969, Knight has quit his accounting job. Blue Ribbon Sports has real employees. They're doing real money, almost $1 million a year in sales. But there's a problem. There's always a problem. They're growing faster than they can afford to grow. Every dollar of revenue goes straight back into inventory. Knight is constantly on the edge, borrowing from banks, borrowing from his father, paying suppliers late, juggling debt like a circus performer juggles knives. One slip and it's over. His banker, a man named Harry White at First National Bank of Oregon, calls Knight's ledger scary, tells him he's overextended, tells him to slow down. Knight doesn't slow down. He can't, because the moment you stop moving in this business, someone else takes your shelf space, your customers, your dream. But the real threat isn't the bank. The real threat is coming from Japan. By 1971, Onitsuka Tiger is watching Blue Ribbon Sports the way a cat watches a mouse that's gotten a little too fat. Blue Ribbon is their best American distributor, but Onitsuka now wants more control. They've been quietly approaching other American distributors, scouting replacements. They want to buy a stake in Blue Ribbon or cut them off entirely and set up their own American operation. And then the letter arrives. The message is clear. Your exclusivity deal is in jeopardy. Your supply could stop. Everything you've built, every track meet, every customer, every waffle sole, every borrowed dollar, depends on a contract that is about to be pulled out from under you. Without Onitsuka Tiger shoes, Blue Ribbon Sports has nothing to sell. Without anything to sell, there is no company. Without a company, Phil Knight goes back to accounting. Think about what that moment feels like. You've given up a safe career. You've borrowed money from your parents. You've built something out of nothing, with your hands, out of the back of a car at 7 in the morning at track meets where it's raining and nobody cares. And now a company on the other side of the world is about to turn off the tap. What do you do? Phil Knight books a flight to Japan. He doesn't have a strategy. He has a problem and a plane ticket. When he lands, he knows the stakes. Onitsuka Tiger holds all the cards. They have other options. He doesn't. But here's what Knight understands, what he learned maybe from all those years running. You don't win a race by thinking about losing it. He walks into that meeting and he does not walk in as a supplicant. He doesn't beg. He doesn't lay out how desperate he is, how close to collapse Blue Ribbon is, how much he needs this to work. Instead, he pivots. He tells them Blue Ribbon Sports is growing. He tells them the American market is only going to get bigger. He tells them, and this is the move, that they need him as much as he needs them. Because without a committed, passionate American distribution partner who actually understands American runners, Onitsuka Tiger will be just another foreign brand trying to navigate a market they don't know. He sells them the vision of what Blue Ribbon could become. And it works. They agree to continue the relationship. The supply line stays open. Phil Knight gets back on a plane to Oregon, and the dream survives by approximately the width of a conference room table. But here's the thing about near-death experiences. Sometimes they clarify everything. Knight came back from Japan knowing one thing with certainty. He could never again build his entire company on someone else's product. He needed his own shoe, his own brand, his own identity. He needed to own the swoosh, not just sell it. So in 1971, the same year of that near-fatal meeting, Blue Ribbon Sports began designing its own line of shoes. They needed a name. One of Knight's employees, Jeff Johnson, woke up from a dream one night with a single word in his head: Nike, the Greek goddess of victory. They needed a logo. Knight hired a graphic design student named Carolyn Davidson to create something. She charged him $35. He looked at the swoosh she drew, shrugged, and said, "I don't love it, but I think it'll grow on me." He wasn't wrong. In 1972, Nike launches its first line of shoes at the US Olympic track and field trials in Eugene, Oregon, the same track where Phil Knight once ran. The same world where a young man once dreamed that a good shoe could change everything. By 1980, Nike goes public. By the 1990s, Michael Jordan is wearing the swoosh. By 2024, Nike is worth over $90 billion. The shoe that started in the trunk of a car, the brand that almost didn't have a name, the company that almost ceased to exist because of one bad meeting with a Japanese supplier.
The swoosh, the slogan, the shoes on every basketball court, every marathon starting line, every pair of feet that has ever wanted to feel like something more than ordinary. Now you know where it came from.
Here's what I want you to take from this. Phil Knight wasn't the smartest man in the room. He wasn't the most funded. He didn't have connections or a safety net or a foolproof plan. What he had was this: he kept moving. When the bank said slow down, he didn't slow down. When his supplier threatened to cut him off, he didn't wait. He got on a plane. When he had no brand, he built one. When he had no logo, he bought one for $35. Every great fortune has a moment where it almost became a funeral. For Nike, that moment was 1971, a conference room in Tokyo. A man with no money and no plan, and just enough audacity to walk in like he had both. Every fortune has a funeral. The swoosh on your shoes, the brand on your jersey, the name the whole world knows. It almost didn't exist. And the only reason it does is because one man refused to let it die. If this story moved you, hit subscribe. There are more stories like this one, fortunes built on the edge of nothing, and the people who refused to let them fall. We'll see you on the next one.